What if this fight is actually the turning point for Yuji's return? As the latest JJK Modulo chapter ignites the long-awaited duel between YUKA and Dabora, one terrifying question immediately takes over the discussion. Can Dabora truly put down Maharaga before adaptation flips the entire battlefield upside down? On paper, the answer is yes, but only if Dabora understands Maharaga's mechanics fast enough and ends the fight with a single, overwhelming blow. Fail to do that, and Maharaga becomes an uncontrollable disaster, potentially forcing Yuji to step in, whether to finish the Shikigami himself, confront Dabora head-on, or prepare for an even darker threat waiting down the line. With Dabora's curse techniques bordering on Sukuna-level horror and Yuji's role still shrouded in mystery, this battle isn't just about who wins. It's about what kind of chaos comes next. Oh yeah, so we can keep interacting and making the anime storytelling world even more fun together. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments to keep the vibe going. Alright guys, let's jump straight into the discussion. Let's go. When it comes to the possibility of Yuji showing up, the latest JJK Modulo chapter has officially kicked off the duel between YUKA and Dabora. This immediately raises a big question among fans. Can Dabora actually defeat Maharaga? In simple terms, the answer is yes, very possible. But there's a crucial condition. Dabora has to quickly understand how Maharaga's ability works and finish it off with a decisive, overwhelming attack before adaptation kicks in. From the start, Dabora has been compared to Sukuna, which already tells us he's far from an ordinary fighter in terms of potential. The real danger appears if Dabora fails to end the fight quickly. Once Maharaga fully adapts to his cursed techniques, the entire situation flips. Maharaga would go berserk and become a massive threat, even in an area as dangerous as Barren Field. This is where the first theory comes in. Yuji might step in directly to put an end to Maharaga, since almost no sorcerer of the current generation is capable of defeating it in a single blow. The second theory assumes the opposite outcome. If Dabora successfully destroys Maharaga early on, Yuji could still have a strong reason to appear. Why? Because once Maharaga is gone, Dabora's true target becomes clear: YUKA, his original opponent. Yuji arriving at that moment would naturally set up a one-on-one confrontation between Yuji and Dabora. More importantly, it would serve as the perfect stage to showcase how powerful Yuji has become at his peak, decades after the Shinjuku showdown. The third theory takes a slightly different angle. Yuji may not interfere with this duel at all, and instead appear later in the story. There's a chance Gij is deliberately holding Yuji back to prepare for Mahito's return. If that's the case, Yuji is being saved for a confrontation with an enemy who shares a deeply personal history with him. After that, the discussion shifts toward Dabora himself. Is he truly on Sukuna's level in terms of raw power? To answer that, we need to look at the source of his strength, his cursed techniques. While they haven't been fully revealed yet, earlier chapters have already given us a rough idea. Dabora is known to possess two cursed techniques, the first being a light-based ability. This light technique was shown when Dabora bombarded Maharaga with attacks resembling blades of light, almost like a cursed version of a lightsaber. These attacks can be gathered, combined, and fired at extreme speed. That makes perfect sense, considering they're based on light. The impact is devastating, capable of piercing and slicing targets with incredible precision. The second curse technique is far more terrifying. It's even described as being open because Dabora physically manifests his killing intent. In other words, his murderous intent isn't just an invisible aura. It becomes something tangible and lethal. This is exactly why Dabora is considered such a massive threat and why people place him alongside monsters like Sukuna. To put it simply, if Dabora's intent during an attack is to sever an opponent's arm, his technique can directly materialize a physical form or type of attack that does exactly that. This likely explains what happened to Yakimaru in the past. Everything occurred so fast that no one could clearly see the technique itself. All his allies could do was speculate that Dabora's movement was capable of slicing or outright erasing body parts in an instant. It's also possible that Dabora's so-called censored curse technique works in tandem with the light-based technique he used against Maharaga. At its most basic level, the light technique alone might only produce light, without the ability to penetrate or damage anything, just like ordinary light. However, many believe that Dabora's light technique is infused with his second curse technique, which originates from the discounted tribe. This fusion is what makes the light so dangerous. By nature, light shouldn't be able to harm or pierce anything. But once Dabora's killing intent is given physical form through his second technique, that harmless light turns into a destructive force capable of tearing through targets. Thanks to this combination, it makes sense that Dabora can unleash attacks that move at light speed. His strikes literally travel as fast as light itself. And so far, what we've seen may not even represent the full potential of his censored curse technique. It's entirely possible that Dabora can create many different types of attacks, depending on the shape of his killing intent, then manifest them as physical weapons to eliminate his enemies. This is why Dabora's curse techniques are genuinely horrifying, especially since we still have no idea what his domain expansion looks like. With power on this level, the big question becomes unavoidable. What happens if the fight between Dabora and Maharaga drags on? If the battle lasts too long and Dabora fails to defeat Maharaga quickly, there's a strong chance Maharaga will come out on top. Maharaga's adaptation isn't just defensive. Once it adapts, it doesn't simply become immune. It also modifies its attacks to directly counter its opponent. We've already seen a clear example of this during Maharaga's fight with Gojo. It managed to bypass infinity, and not through a single type of slash. Its attacks had a wide range, and were specifically designed to break through Gojo's defenses. That very attack pattern later became the blueprint Sukuna used to create the world-cutting slash. That's how dangerous Maharaga becomes when it isn't eliminated in one decisive strike. Dabora's position becomes extremely risky if Maharaga fully adapts to his cursed techniques. Still, it's worth noting that Maharaga may not adapt perfectly or easily to Dabora's abilities, even if it has previously adapted to light-based elements. The evidence is right there. After recovering from Dabora's attack, Maharaga was still able to bite Dabora's lightsaber. That alone suggests its adaptation wasn't fully complete yet. The reason is pretty straightforward. Dabora possesses two different curse techniques, and one of them isn't even fully understood by ordinary sorcerers. Think about it this way. Dabora's killing intent can literally manifest into a physical form. That means the number of ways he can kill an opponent is almost limitless, all thanks to his second curse technique. Because of that, the most effective strategy for Dabora to defeat Maharaga would be to launch a true one-shot attack right from the start, something overwhelmingly lethal. This is especially important since Maharaga's ability to adapt heavily depends on how complex the curse technique it faces actually is. If we compare this to Gojo's case, Maharaga's adaptation to the Limitless was clearly not instant. Gojo's curse technique was so absurdly complex that Maharaga had to go through multiple adaptation rotations before it could properly respond to Blue, Infinity, and even Unlimited Void. And even then, Sukuna and Megumi had to shoulder massive risks just to ensure Maharaga could finally be taken down after the adaptation process was complete. From that, a clear pattern emerges. If Dabora's curse technique is similarly complex, and on top of that, includes a one-shot attack on the level of Purple, Fuga, or even a uniquely structured domain expansion, then logically, Dabora's chances of defeating Maharaga are extremely high. Now, if Dabora really does manage to kill Maharaga, that's where another possibility opens up. There's a chance YUKA could summon Maharaga again, possibly even for a second time. How is that possible? The 10 Shadows ritual explains that to tame a Shikigami, the user must defeat it through an official ritual involving only the user and their own Shikigami, like the Divine Dogs. This was directly explained by Megumi himself. it's true that the ritual can technically involve multiple people. However, according to Megumi's explanation in Chapter 117, if the exorcism is carried out as a group, the result is considered invalid. In other words, even if Maharaga is defeated with the help of many sorcerers, the 10 Shadows user still cannot control or utilize it. That's why Megumi called this method a pointless exorcism. At that time, though, he had no other options. His condition was critical, and his only goal was to take down Haruta, even if it meant permanently sacrificing Maharaga's potential. Following that logic, Yuka could theoretically keep forcing Maharaga's summoning over and over again until her cursed energy runs out, simply to have Dabora kill it each time. If multiple exorcisms truly erase the effects of the 10 Shadows technique, then Gojo could have helped Megumi defeat Maharaga long ago, allowing it to be tamed and used in future battles. But that never happened, and that alone proves just how strict the rules really are. From here, several outcomes are possible in the next chapter. Yuji might intervene at the exact moment Maharaga fully adapts to Dabora's cursed technique, triggering chaos on an even larger scale. Or Yuji could step in to ensure Yuka truly dies at Dabora's hands, or even appears simultaneously with Mahito. Every one of these scenarios remains open, and all of them make logical sense within the story. Wow, that's interesting. Thank you so much for sticking with the story till the end. If you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.